Hello, ladies and gentlemen, jury. I'm Danny Movie Man. Today I am reviewing really unconventional film called A Ghost Story. This film made waves at Sundance Film Festival, and its story behind it is actually quite interesting. Um, this is a really unconventional, ambitious project, which is ironically also picked up by distributing company A24 Films, which have backed a load of other really good and ambitious indie films of late, like Moonlight, Swiss Army Man, The Lobster, and Enemy, just to name a few. And they're really becoming a force to be reckoned with on the independent movie scene. And but A Ghost Story is their latest edition, and this tells the story of a couple living in their suburban home in Dallas, Texas. I think it's Dallas, Texas. It's Texas, yeah. And it's really a story. It's really just this emotional tale about grief, time, and the meaning of existence, whether or not anything matters. As I said, this film tells the story of a couple living in a suburban home in Texas, and one day one of them dies in a car crash and comes back as a ghost, dressed in a white sheet with black holes for eyes. You know, the sort of thing that you'd make for a kid for Halloween last minute, and and he continues to haunt or watch over um, the house and their partner for years and even decades after his death. And as I've already said, this film is really kind of explores existence, and that's what I think the director David Lowery, no, director, writer, and editor David Lowery has done exceptionally well for this film. And this is really a film that you need to experience. This is a review, but it's really something that the individual person will take away something different from the person sat next to them. It's really an experience that really people need to watch. But without further ado, I'm going to get into the review. First of all, when you hear the name A Ghost Story, some people are going to expect a horror film. Like when I first saw the trailer to this film, I saw it. I was going to see a horror film. It was in amongst horror film trailers, and the trailer itself isn't a horror film. It doesn't make allude to a kind of a drama, which it really is. But people might see the title and they might see the character and and just think horror film. Don't do that. Don't expect a horror film. If you do, you're going to be disappointed because this is not a horror film. Although there is something about horror that I like about this film, it plays on conventions. It takes the conventions of ghosts in horror films, like flickering lights and books falling off surfaces in other rooms when no one's there, and all the kind of things that horror movies use to make ghosts malevolent. This film uses to subvert that, and I really liked how they did that. They took um, this and they kind of asked the question: does a supernatural being need to be malevolent? No, it doesn't. In actuality, if ghosts are real, in actuality they're probably going to be confused, frustrated, and just lost in general. And that's why they're making all these sounds. They're watching things before their eyes that they can't do anything about, and so they just act out. And that's what that is. And I think that's what this film really does well in regards to, subverting expectations. That's just one way. This film does it in a multitude of ways, but that's the only way in regards to horror and horror conventions that this film really impresses. But as I said, that's just one way because there are many others that I'm going to get into right now. Director David Lowery has come from an editing background in film, and that really shows in this film. But because the editing is absolutely fantastic. But if you see this film, you're not going to think that at first. So I urge people to actually give the film the entire 90 minutes because I can see people giving up after about 30. And that's because at the beginning of the film, David Lowery uses the long shot, like the long shot duration. He has shots linger for minutes at a time. It goes on, and I can see people getting really frustrated and bored and just switch off after half an hour. But really, you need to kind of get through that to get to the second act and the third act where the editing is just phenomenal, and the whole film is just phenomenal. And I do admit the film does get better, but I can see a lot of people turning off because of use of the shot duration, because as David Lowery has said, he was inspired by European and Asian cinema, and he takes this to the extreme. There is a 9-minute scene of Rooney Mara eating a pie. That's all I need to say about how to the extreme the shot durations have been taken in this first act of this movie. Whereas I can see people turning off, I actually kind of get this, and on reflection, although experiencing it, I am like, okay, looking at your watch, like when is a cut gonna happen? On reflection, I'm actually like, I understand why he did that, because you really like watching life unedited. You know, when there isn't the cuts, you really do feel like you're watching something happen that is real, and that really got me, and so I hope people take that away from it or take something similar away from it, but I just urge people to soldier through this film, because at first they're gonna probably think, what the hell am I watching? While also on the subject of editing, and as I've already said, David Lowery came from an editing background in film. There's all sorts of editing techniques in this film. There is so much editing in this film. Like, there's every matter of cut that you could possibly think. Intercuts, flashback, cuts to flashbacks, cuts to the future, jump cuts, fast cuts, elliptical edits, all sorts of cuts there are in this film, and they're each used fantastically to manipulate time, because that's what the director has been saying about this film, how he thinks what makes film and cinema different from all other art forms is it's the way it manipulates time and the way it can edit time, to your will. You can jump forward, you can go back, you can do whatever you want with time, and this film does that. This film uses editing perfectly to manipulate time, and it's using all manner of different ways, from really long shots to really short shots. This film does it phenomenally, and you can really tell that the director David Lowery is really experienced as an editor when you watch the film. And as I said, you have to get past that first half an hour of those extremely long shots, because from then on it's just absolute wonder to watch. My personal favourite, I have two scenes actually, two personal favourite moments where the editing is brilliant. First one is a scene I think I'm just going to call C's song, right? C's the character played by Casey Affleck, and he's a musician, and so he writes a song and he plays it to his girlfriend, wife, partner, I was going to say partner, Rooney Mara, who's called M in this film. He plays her the song for the first time, and what this is fantastic is because it intercuts between this warmly lit past and this sort of dull and cold looking present, and it just intercuts between them while his song plays uninterrupted all the way throughout. And that, as well as the proxemics between Rooney Mara and the ghost in the present, that really hit me. Like, that really got me emotionally, and I was really sort of surprised by that it hit me harder than I expected. And that was, I think, the first sign of, okay, this film is going to be good. This film is like starting to, from all of those long shots that kind of like confusing you, this is the moment when you're suddenly like, yep, okay, this is going to go somewhere. And it was phenomenal. The second editing comes in the form of it's in this final act, and it involves, I'm not really sure what to call it, so I'm just going to say it's a bunch of elliptical edits involving a little girl. Because the reason I like this scene is because I think it's most perfectly kind of sums up this entire film in a rather cynical way, but it's also really good. It's one of the best uses of editing in this film, because it's elliptical cut that jumps decades, like decades, and it's so seamless Like the positions of the ghost and everything just do not change. Because this edit of jumping decades with this watching this little girl, so I'm going to say, is the reason I like it so much because it really explores the film's main theme, and this is a good segue into the main theme of the film, which is simply, does anything matter? Because like we all are gonna die, we're all gonna die someday, and we all try to create something that will outlive us, whether or not that's like an artist trying to make music, a filmmaker trying to make a film, a poet trying to make a poem, or just a person, giving birth to a child. We all try to create something that outlives us. So it kind of gives us, some kind of purpose. But at the same time, surely that would die someday. As the film sort of says, like, is it Beethoven or Mozart? One of these really famous classical songs. Like, will it, like, what happens when the world's a wasteland? Will people be humming that same tune? Uh, you know. So does anything really matter? But at the same time, it's interesting because at the same time, a ghost is watching all of this happen, and so of course it does sort of matter, doesn't it? But that's the thing with this. Um, it's so kind of such a complex argument that this film sort of provokes. It provokes a real discussion about this, which I think is really poignant and profound. That this argument, and I think it's one that people really need to see and experience, and so they can have their argument and then express it to other people who have also seen this film and have, generate that discussion that this film offers. And I'm really waiting to know someone who's seen this film so I can just go on about, so does anything matter? This film's also filmed in an interesting aspect ratio. It's like in a sort of box shape with like the curved edges at the curved corners at the bottom and at the top, and it's got this real kind of home movie kind of feel to it, and that's really kind of that kind of makes it feel a bit more personal. When you're watching everything happen here, it feels sort of like it's not maybe something you're meant to be watching. As well as the personal touch to this, it also kind of like reflects the ghost's kind of, feeling, and it kind of makes you empathize with it. Like similar to like what it does with horror conventions and how it subverts them to make you empathize with the ghost. That's something that the film takes. I did really well. Is that if you knew anything about this film before going in to see it, about the film's sort of gimmick, as it were, the white sheet. What's even funny is about there's like a production company called Scared Sheetless, and I was just like, that's a dad joke for the ages, my friend. Way. But yeah, it takes this gimmick, and this is what I like about films similar to this, like Her. For example, is that it takes this gimmick that people probably find laughable. Like even the director himself found this gimmick or aspect laughable at first, and it takes you and it makes you really like. It does it in such an endearing way that you really kind of like warm to it, and you really empathize with this character, which is simply just a white sheet with black holes for eyes, and like. I think the aspect ratio is a part of helping of doing that, is because it's with the box sort of shape. It really kind of it can kind of reflects the kind of entrapment the ghost has, because it is stuck in a place in time, but time is irrelevant, so he's stuck in a place. Just this. All he has is this space that he cannot leave, and so you kind of really feel his entrapment through simply just the aspect ratio. And yeah, as well as that, the cinematography is brilliant. It's absolutely outstanding, and it's absolutely like it's just really sort of beautiful in like a sad kind of somber way. So yeah, A Ghost Story. If I was to rate it out of 10, alright, I would give it a 9 out of 10. That is this film. Like, it could go one of two ways, People who see this film, they could give it, like, oh 1 out of 10, or people give it 9 out of 10. It really depends on how you watch the film, how you read it, what you take from it, and kind of like if you give it the time of day. Because that's the thing with this film. It really depends on the individual. It really depends on what you take from it, what you are kind of decoding, and I think it's different for many people. I've seen that it's definitely a film you need to see. It's a must see, in my opinion. So yeah, just get the must see sticker or something across the screen. I don't know, but it's definitely an experience one must have. And so I urge anyone's watching this, see this. Let me know what you think. I've seen people who have just come out and do not know. They don't know if they love it or they hate it. It's kind of like Pulp Fiction in '94, when there were critics saying, I don't know if this is the best film ever made or the worst film ever made. And that's kind of the same with this movie. But my personal experience is that I'm taking it as like one of the best films I've ever seen. It is um, like really emotional, really ambitious, really unconventional, and just a beauty that I really hope does matter. So yeah, that's my review of A Ghost Story. Please let me know what you think of this film, because I think it's gonna be a real split. I think some people will love it, some people will hate it, and some people just will have no clue. But what I urge is that you actually watch it. You you pay attention to it, and you power through that first half an hour. If the long shots are sort of frustrating you or anything, please give the film its full 90 minutes. It is worth your time. It really is, and that's all I can really say. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think, and goodbye.